be in any mental shape to return to work. Because if it was his butt, then she'd have to deal with that. If it wasn't his, then she'd have to keep searching. There wasn't exactly a reliable database to search guys with great butts and longhorn tats.
"There's nothing wrong with Stellie, is there?" Misty asked.
She was Lorelei's age, 35, and they'd known each other all their lives. That was probably why Misty had no trouble picking up on the worry vibe Lorelei was no doubt sending off.
"Stellie's fine,"
Lorelei assured her. Her nearly 11-month-old adopted daughter, Estella, a.k.a. Stellie, was with the nanny, and they no doubt had a wonderful, fun day planned. Lorelei focused on that, on the fun and wonderful, on her precious daughter, as she took out the photo to show Misty.
"Without reading anything into it or asking me why I'm showing you this, could you tell me if you recognize that?"
Misty took the photo, blinked, then laughed.
"You want me to ID a hot ass?"
Yes, this was a long shot. Especially long since even though Misty was attractive, her love life was even less lover-filled than Lorelei's. Lorelei waggled the picture, urging Misty to take a longer look. She did. No laugh this time, but she made a sound of yummy approval.
"No, I don't recognize it," Misty insisted. "Please tell me your errand involves getting a look at the butt's owner."
It might indeed, but Lorelei reminded herself that it was a good thing she'd struck out with Misty. If and when she struck out with Dax Buchanan, she'd next show the photo to her sisters. Not that they were big butt experts either. But the more people who ruled out knowing the butt's owner meant he was likely some random stranger she would never be able to find. Which would suit her just fine. For now, though, the ruling out had to continue. Repeating that to herself and steeling herself up, Lorelei went out of the shop and to her car in the parking lot. The morning March wind had a bit of a chill to it, but it wouldn't last, not in this part of central Texas. Despite the fact that it wasn't officially spring yet, the temps would climb into the 80s by early afternoon. She drove through Last Ride, the hometown she knew like the back of her own hand, past the shops and businesses that were unique to a unique small town. For Heaven's Cake Bakery and once upon a time antique and art shop. Foul-Feathered Friends was having a sale on birdseed. Normally, she would have driven slower to take in the ever-changing displays of the storefronts, but today wasn't about savoring the sights. She headed out of town and toward Sunset Creek Ranch. It felt a little as if she were heading to some kind of showdown, like a gunfight at the OK Corral, but it was possible it might be nothing more than a very short, perhaps embarrassing, encounter with Dax Buchanan. If she struck out with him and his butt, then she would go to the next phase of her search, maybe even hire a PI. She couldn't breathe easier until the search was over and done, and her life felt righted again. Lorelei took the turn to Sunset Creek Ranch and drove through the massive wrought iron gates that were thankfully open. Then she got a look at the ranch itself that was just as picturesque as its name. Acres of lush green pastures, white fences, and 3 barns. The sprawling 2-story stone and pine house had been well maintained, a reminder that Dax wasn't just a rodeo star, but that he'd also made a fortune off endorsements and the sales of the prized rodeo bulls that his team of ranch hands bred and raised. Since Dax's brother Wyatt was married to her glass artist sister, Nola, that meant they had a family connection. It also meant Lorelei was privy to the gossip about Dax. Lots and lots of gossip. About his chaotic, unconventional lifestyle and the equally chaotic reputation he had with women. About the longhorn tat he had on his butt. Yes, people in Last Ride gossiped about such things, and Lorelei had heard plenty of giggled whispers about having seen the tat. Of course, a tat sighting like that would have likely happened during sex. Or in her case, a photo. Lorelei made her way up the porch that ran across the entire front of the house, rang the bell, and waited. And waited. Because of that family connection with his brother.